I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. There has been an agreement, a hostage release agreement between Hamas and the Israeli Netanyahu government. And I think it's going to start in about another 4 hours. There'll be a ceasefire for 4 days. 50 hostages, women and children, that Hamas is now holding will be released, and 150 of women and children, prisoners that Israel is holding, will be released. And I believe it's, at least from the Hamas point of view, 50 will be released per day. We'll see how well this works out, if this ceasefire will hold. But a lot of people are very excited about the fact that this has taken place. And the question one may ask, well, who is winning? Because it took the Knesset a long time, and many of members of Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud, if you will, caucus, voted against it. A number of people just didn't want to do it. And I'm going to be doing more teaching on what I have been doing in the Bible segment of my ministry, teaching that, there is no peace. Jeremiah says in Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 11, everybody's running around talking about peace, and there is no peace, and that no two-state solution is going to bring peace. I can tell you, there is no peace, no matter what you do. The issue, however, is that will somehow or another the Palestinians and Muslims and the Muslims in the 21 nations surrounding that little tiny slip of land called Israel retake it and drive the Israelis from the river into the sea. Now, I'm a Zionist. You understand? I'm a Bible believing that the Jews ought to be self-determining and that the land was deeded to them. End of story, full stop, no two-state solution. I'm a Zionist. However, are we looking at potentially, because, during one of the wars, I think it was a 6-day war, one of the wars that took place, Moshe Dayan, one of Israel's, Ariel Sharon and Moshe Dayan was considered one of Israel's great generals. At the conclusion of one of those wars, he allowed the Muslims to build the Al-Aqsa Mosque. He gave away that most precious temple. And Moshe Dayan gave away the most precious parcel, holy piece of land on the planet at the time. Now, ATLAH is the new Holy Land. But this man that you're looking at, Moshe Dayan, gave away Temple Mount to the Muslims, and they built Al-Aqsa Mosque. I'll show you a picture of that as well. It now sits on Temple Mount, where Almighty God, and when the Temple of Solomon used to be, and where Almighty God used to rest in the place called the Holy. That's a Muslim mosque. It's built on what was one time the holiest parcel of land on the planet. It now is occupied by the Muslims. So my question is this: if that took place, and I can understand why there was such wrangling in the Knesset about whether to take the hostage deal, and I think they should have done it, but this may not turn out so good for the Jews. The world sentiment is against the Jews. I'm a Zionist, so they're against me too. But across the world, people are supporting Palestine, and young people in particular, they're supporting Palestine, and they are against the Jews. Anti-Semitism, I mean, the poison, the vileness of people who are now Jew-hating. I mean, Elon Musk came out and just flat out on his 160 million followers, and then on his big platform called X, called the Jews, if you will, ugly names. I'm not going to say all. I mean, everywhere you shake a stick, there's a Jew hater. I'm a Zionist. Is it possible that the Muslims and these young people who don't know Pharaoh will aid the Muslims and the Palestinians to drive the Jews, the Israelis, into the sea? They're chanting from the river to the sea. I wanted to be able to share that with you. I thought it was very important. The hostages, we don't know who's been released. I know people have their loved ones, their children. I understand there's a 3-year-old girl that's been held hostage. Is she yet alive? Babies were held hostage. I don't know that they have babies at this moment. But this is a very intense time for the people who are praying that their family member will be one of the ones that will be released. And the same thing, of course, with the prisoners, the 150 prisoners that, the other thing is that we have to realize that while Gaza is being completely obliterated, 3/4 of the housing in Gaza City has been demolished. But we have to remember that on D-Day, on the 6th of June in 1944, when the Allied forces landed on Omaha Beach, some 4,000 Allied forces were killed. And the bombings that the Allied forces did in cities like Cannes and other cities in and around the region of Omaha Beach, the region of Utah, that they devastated schools and hospitals and killed innocent people. A number of innocent people were killed by the bombings that the Allied forces. So, I mean, we're not looking at something terribly different what Israel is doing to Hamas. And listen, I'm a Zionist, and I want to be a bit of a scholar and a historian on this matter. But who's winning? I want you to keep an eye on the fact that world sentiment against the Jews and the love of many has waxed so cold that you may see support for the Jewish people shrivel down to nothing. And the Muslims will then march out of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and send the Jews into the sea. I'm not praying that should happen, no, God forbid. But if it's prophesied, and I suspect that it is, that it will happen.